Hello there, my very good friends. Andy Murray here for What Culture Wrestling, and today we're going to talk all about Edge. I'm talking his comeback, the Royal Rumble win, and of course the WrestleMania 37 main events. Now, I'm into this whole package, and I'm sure you guys are as well. But there's a problem with this storyline, a big one, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. So today, we're going to do just that. Really, this storyline is Hollywood stuff. This is the kind of real-life drama that doesn't fall into a promotion's lap often, so when it does, they kind of have to run with it because there's nothing else like it in all of wrestling. I mean, think about it. Edge was forced into an early retirement. He was told that if you ever wrestle again, you are probably going to paralyze yourself. He's on the shelf for almost a decade, and finally, out of nowhere, completely out of the blue, he comes back in the 2020 Royal Rumble. It's one of the greatest pops and returns in the event's history. And after that, he has this awesome feud with Randy Orton. Weekly angles that just blow everyone away. Tremendous, hard-hitting, impactful stuff informed by 15 years of history. They have the WrestleMania match, which admittedly wasn't to everyone's taste, but then they get to Backlash, and they have the cynically marketed greatest wrestling match ever, which wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. I think most people would agree on that, but it was a great wrestling match, and one of the best that WWE produced all year. Even if you just take it up to that point, it's a really great story. But then you go further. Edge injures himself. He tears his triceps in that match, and suddenly this shaggy underdog comeback story has another layer, even more adversity for this man to overcome. Is he going to be back in time for the Royal Rumble? Is he going to be back in time for WrestleMania? Well, the answer, as we know, was yes. A sensational second in a row Royal Rumble comeback. He wins the whole damn thing. He wrestles from start to finish and punches his ticket for WrestleMania 37. 12 months after doing the impossible, Edge did the highly improbable. And now, if we believe the reports, he's going to go to WrestleMania to face one Roman Reigns. And on paper, man, it doesn't get much better than this. Edge is this perfect, veteran, sympathetic, damaged underdog going into battle against the perfectly cruel, domineering bully heel that the head of the table, that the tribal chief has become. There's no greater clash of characters in any brand of WWE at the moment. It is a truly worthy WrestleMania main event. Or is it? Let's break it down. Look, I personally am into this story. Let me make that very, very clear. I cannot wait to see what these guys get up to on the road to WrestleMania, and I'm sure the match itself is going to be awesome. That dynamic is just so compelling. I don't care how old Edge is or anything like that. I'm going to be washed away by all this. I'm going to be invested, barring a disaster. And I'm sure that you guys as well, us in the wrestling bubble, feel the exact same way. So why then are people outside the wrestling bubble not really investing in this at all? The problem is that once you look out our hardcore fan bubble, and let's make no mistake, that's exactly what this is, well, things don't look quite so rosy for the comeback king at all, and I've got the data here to prove it. Let's run through the numbers. And yes, we are dealing with a small sample size here, admittedly, and there's a chance that things might correct themselves on the road to WrestleMania. But remember, the night after the Royal Rumble used to be a big ratings hit for WWE. A massive rub, a massive boost in TV viewers was all but guaranteed. Unfortunately, not anymore. The Raw after the Royal Rumble this year, which was marketed heavily around Edge and his decision ahead of WrestleMania, hit 1.892 million viewers. That is up slightly on the previous week, but it's still within the accepted 10% margin for error that the Nielsen system uses. More tellingly, this number was down 500,000 viewers on the previous year. There was no post-pay-per-view rub at all. It was the same with Drew McIntyre in 2020, and it's even worse here. 500,000 viewers, year on year, gone. you can't solely blame Edge for that, right? There's a lot of factors playing into all this, but you get to NXT 2 nights later. Edge announces his appearance on social media. He's going to NXT. Is he going to challenge Finn Balor? What's he going to get up to? He does this the day before. He shows up and, well, NXT's numbers can only really be described as a shambles. NXT's viewership with Edge on the show plummeted by over 100,000, and in addition to that, the 18 to 49 demographic, which is the more important metric, fell from 0.21 to 0.15. But the most damning thing of all is that the quarter hour that Edge featured in alongside Finn Balor and Pete Dunne, well, it was smoked by what was going on the other channel. The wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford outdrew it by 250,000. And then 2 nights later, Edge goes to SmackDown, and guess what? The ratings decrease again. Admittedly, it's in the margin for error, it's only 50,000, but the crucial point here is that they didn't go up. So on all 3 of these shows, the supposed buzz for Edge's comeback and Royal Rumble win actually yielded negative results. Now, when you're in the wrestling bubble and you never really escape it, you think that your enthusiasm is just going to be reflected everywhere. You think that because we're into it, the hardcore viewers, the people who are going to watch every single week no matter what, we think that because we are into it, everyone else is going to be into it as well. But what these numbers tell us is that the more casual WWE viewer, the fly-by-nighters who aren't necessarily watching every single week, are no more interested in this than anything else going on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. Of course, a lack of money drawing, of attention-grabbing stars is a company-wide problem. It's not just an Edge problem, and it's made worse by WWE's crazy assertion that the brand, not the wrestlers, is the draw. I mean, to outline how stupid that is, think about this. The company has lost around 50% of its viewership over the past 5 years. That's the brand that's lost 50% of the viewership. The brand, objectively, is not a draw. And if it was, it would mean they'd be able to put, I don't know, Mojo Rawley or Dana Brooke in the WrestleMania main event. It just wouldn't matter because the brand, not the wrestler, is the draw. And there are very few wrestlers in WWE today that you can legitimately point to and say, hey, that person is pushing business in the right direction, backing your argument up with numbers. Bayley and Sasha Banks last year, they were tremendously successful in doing this for SmackDown. People were into them and their feud in a big way. And the current example, the best possible example you could point to at the moment, well, it's none other than the guy that Edge will probably be facing at WrestleMania. It's Roman Reigns. In the words of Chad Kroger, look at this graph. It illustrates the impact that Roman Reigns winning the Universal Championship has had on WWE SmackDown's numbers. The red data refers to before he won the belt, and the blue data is after Roman Reigns became Universal Champion. Now, I'm not going to break down every single stage of this because that would be boring and we'd be here all day. If you want that, that's in the article on which this video is based. However, you can see the trend. It's right there. And if we take it from start to finish using January rather than February as the endpoint, because February is still ongoing, it's a 6.7% increase. It's not a huge increase, but it's an increase. And it's a lot more than the vast majority, if not anyone, on WWE's roster can say for themselves. So maybe then, this is how you solve the problem. Edge is not driving business in a positive direction right now. Roman Reigns is. Pair them up, and maybe things will start working out. It's kind of an interesting flip on the old theory that you bring older names back to try and give newer guys a rub and boost their popularity. In this case, it's the other way around. And this whole thing is really weird, right? Edge is a multi-time world champion. He's a Hall of Famer. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you perceive this guy as a star, and the announce team will tell you every single week, this guy is a star, he's a Hall of Famer, he's a legend. But the thing is, outside of our bubble, people aren't receiving him as a star. And that, my friends, is the one problem with Edge that nobody wants to admit. Let's just hope that by the time we get to WrestleMania 37, this thing does turn around, because good storytelling deserves to do good business. In this case, it's just not there yet. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments section below. How are you enjoying the Edge storyline so far? And what do you think WWE can do to kind of turn these numbers around? Once you've done that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Then you can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and myself at Andy H. Murray, where you can tell me how wrong I am. Goodbye.